100 years, 100 voices. A St. John Centennial Oral History project conceived and produced by WSJS Radio, where every day is history.
Buenos días, papá. ¿Cómo tú te sientes?
Buenos días, Ricardo y Juli. Me siento muy bien de estar aquí con ustedes.
Pregunta. ¿Cuándo fue que tú viniste a la escuela?
Antes de esta mañana que los vine a traer aquí, la primera vez que vine a St. John's fue en el 1976, cuando empecé en prekinder en St. John's. Y era bien distinto cómo era St. John's en aquel momento a cómo es hoy.
¿Cómo era?
Bueno, Ricardo, este edificio donde estamos hoy en día no estaba. El prekinder era un solo salón y era una caseta para que parecía un gingerbread house. En el mismo medio de donde está ahora la cancha, el gym, y allí había, en vez de un edificio en concreto, donde está ahora el gym, había un área llena de arena, y donde estaba el gym, en una parte de eso era donde estaba el salón de prekinder, y mi maestra era Mrs. Reyes y Mrs. Santo Domingo.
Papá, ese es el de que te engañó.
Ella me regañó varias veces. Sí. Me regañó porque ella...
Lo de Abu.
Sí, lo de Abu, yo te echo el cuento. Que era que yo en aquel entonces, en casa me decían Junior, y todavía me dicen Junior en casa.
Yo te digo.
Sí.
Abu
Y entonces, Abu. Y entonces cuando llegué a la escuela, por primera vez, Mrs. Reyes dijo Oreste Ramos y yo no contestaba. Y yo no sabía a quién se referían. Y ella pensaba que quizás yo era medio sordo. Y llamó a mami y le dijo, oye, Rita, ¿pero qué le pasa a este niño que no contesta Oreste Ramos?
¿Cómo ella sabe?
Bueno, porque Abu sabía que yo iba a responder a Junior, y cuando dijo Junior, yo miré.
What do you most remember being a student here?
Mostly my friends, pretty much always being happy about coming to school. It was a place where you learned a lot, and it was a place where you had a great time.
What are your favorite classes?
My favorite classes were usually history, math on occasions, depending on whether or not I understood what was being taught. I like science a lot. I like chemistry a lot, particularly with Mr. Hanner. And I like Spanish a lot. I really like reading Spanish literature and Latin American literature. History, I think that it was in part due to the fact that my father always spoke about and talked to me about history and the importance of history. Math, it's just that you feel accomplished about understanding something, as is chemistry. You know, the fact that you understand something that someone else, that you can teach to someone else, and that you feel very accomplished in understanding these classes. In elementary school, I think that there was a Spanish teacher called Mrs. Avellanal, and Mrs. Avellanal was really good at, now in retrospect, she was very good with grammar, and I remember that she was very strict, and I really enjoyed learning with her. She had this saying when we started classes each day, which was a trabajar con la señora Avellanal. And that's the way classes started every day with her. So I really liked her teaching. I remember very fondly Mrs. Myatt, who was then Mrs. Donovan, and she was my first grade teacher. In middle school, I have to say, and that you could not keep your hands inside your pocket, because that was a sign of a little bit of disrespect. Ever since then, there's things that you remember that you learn in school and that you still apply to today. So him, and in high school, I would have to say In math, I would have to say Cheo, one of the smartest persons I've ever met. Mr. Henner was fantastic. Jorge Rivera was also a very good teacher, not only in the classroom, but I think that he was very good at teaching us how to carry ourselves as young adults, and in the importance of being socially aware of certain things. I'd say also that Mrs. Ferdman, Deborah Ferdman, she was my AP Spanish teacher, and she was tough. And she brought out the best in us. She really taught me how to write well in Spanish.
What were your main school activities?
Main school activities. I started out, I always loved sports, so I loved playing basketball. So played basketball in St. John's ever since there was a first opportunity that I have to belong to a team. So that was in 7th grade. And I played throughout my high school. I always wanted to be, a great basketball player. And for some reason, I didn't have the height or I wasn't, good enough, but I really, tried to strive to be a great basketball player, which I wasn't. But, I that didn't stop me from, hustling out there and wanting to practice more and more. In addition to that, I was class president, and one of the years I was involved in student council, Oratoria Español as well, which I really I thought was a great way of being able to hone in my skills as a public speaker in Spanish. And OAS with Mrs. Bolivar the first year, and then the second year with Mrs. Del Toro. And that experience allowed us to go to Washington, D.C., our nation's capital that both of you have visited, and represent the country there at the OAS. And you would present ideas and convince other countries and other students from other schools from the mainland, from the States, that the position that your country was taking was the right one. Then you would learn how to negotiate and do several things that still to this day, I think are similar to the types of things that I do today as a lawyer. Dime.
¿A ti te gustan tus amigos?
Me encantan mis amigos. Y esa es tremenda pregunta. Una de las cosas buenas de St. John's era que yo, cuando estaba en St. John's, mi hermano, tío Héctor, no había nacido todavía. Pues mis amigos en St. John's eran como si fuesen mis hermanos. Y al día de hoy, mis amigos de mi clase, no solamente de mi clase, sino de clases mayores y clases menores, son personas que son mis amigos al día de hoy. Y eso es algo que a mí me gustó mucho de la escuela. Considero que mi escuela era una extensión de mi familia. Así que, tremenda pregunta, Juli.
What do you believe most influenced you later as an adult?
I think that being a St. John student, being a small school, relatively small school, which goes from pre-kinder all the way to 12th grade, where classes are small and students and make friends in the grades above you and below you, really give you an important sense of belonging to something larger. And they build a lot of loyalty to an institution and to a school. I feel that has helped me later on in life at being and at having a feeling of loyalty towards certain institutions, towards my business, towards my office, my family, of course. But I think that one of the things that most influenced me here coming to St. John's, personally speaking, is that I really do consider my friends from school and my teachers from school to be part of an intrinsic part of my life, and when I see them today, it's like seeing an old family member. So I think that would be it. And plus on the academic aspect, I think that St. John's really brought out the best in me as a student, and I wouldn't be here today, working where I work, doing what I do, had it not been for the help of St. John's and its teachers and the students.
Given that your kids could attend any other school, What are the reasons you chose St. John's School?
In part, I wanted both of you to have as good an education as I had, and as good a place to go to school as I had. I think that it was a way of telling my parents, awi nono, that way back when they made the decision to enroll me at St. John's, that they did not necessarily have all the means to make the sacrifice to send me to school. That it's a way of telling them that it was well worth it. And I think that St. John's is my way, not necessarily it's the only way, but it's my way of feeling that I'm doing the right things for Juliana and for you.
Looking back in perspective, could you give about Puerto Rico at the time?
Puerto Rico at the time, well, technology was very different in Puerto Rico back then, and you know, in all of the world. You know, we would never have such a radio show then, or the internet. We did not have the internet. We had computers, but what we did on the computers was mostly very, very basic in comparison to what's being done today. I think that the school was a lot, and it's ironic because we're speaking in English, but I think that the school was a lot more stateside based, o sea, más americana, if we were to say it in simple terms, than today. That I think that's the way it was, and it's a little bit different. There are a lot of different things that are not just particular to St. John's that are different. I think that Puerto Rico has changed a lot in the last 20 years. It's a more difficult place to live in. And I think that only time will tell how it will be when you guys send your kids to school here.
¿Tú querías hacer un presidente?
Yo creo, y esta es mi visión, ¿verdad? Y mi opinión, no necesariamente es la opinión que tengan que tener otras personas, y yo te he enseñado eso, que respetamos las opiniones de otras personas. Pero más que yo ser presidente, yo quisiera poder votar por el presidente de los Estados Unidos y poder elegir las personas que hacen parte de las decisiones que afectan a Puerto Rico. Yo eso es algo que creo con mucho fervor y que creo que es bien importante.
¿Tú has hecho algo bien especial para el mundo?
Bueno, lo más especial que he hecho para el mundo es ser el papá de ustedes. Ustedes saben por qué. Básicamente es eso. Yo creo que la cosa más importante que puede hacer una persona es criar a sus hijos de una manera que los ayude a ser buenos ciudadanos que contribuyan a la comunidad a la cual pertenecen. Y en ese sentido, pues creo que lo más importante que he hecho para el mundo, que quizás no impacte muchísimas personas, es
tener una familia buena.
Tener una familia buena y llevarlos a ustedes todos los días por un buen camino. Oreste Ramos, Class of 1991.